Welcome to Fly Nubian Money, where we help you master your mindset and maximize your money.
Good morning, and afternoon, depending on where you are. Welcome to Fly Nubian Money, where we help you master your mindset and maximize your money. My name is Tiara Williams. I'm also known as Miss Black Hollywood, and I am your host for today, filling in for Constance. So today I wanted to talk about a trend that I saw that seems to be sparking in the Black community. Basically, it says that more Black divorcees are remarrying their ex-spouses. And so I wanted to break that down. I want to know if that's for real, if that's financial, if that's just because we a little lonely. Is that what is driving that? And so I have the best queens in the world to discuss that with me. I have Dr. Sabrina Williams, who is a what is the technical title? I don't want to get it wrong.
I am a life and legacy planning strategist.
Bow. I won't ever forget it. Life and legacy planning strategist. All right. And then, of course, I have our resident therapist today and also our Be Big coach, Felice Hightower Britt. Okay. And of course, I just told you I'm Miss Black Hollywood. So let's talk about it. When you heard this, that this was a trend that seems to be spiking in the Black community, I'll start with you, Dr. Sabrina. What did you think? Your initial thoughts?
Oh Lord, I better keep what I got. If I let him go, he'll be back. I'll be back.
Okay.
That's exactly what I thought.
Okay. All right. So if you leave, you're going to end up spinning the block either way it goes.
Yes. Indeed.
All right. Okay. What about you, Felice? What did you think?
It makes sense. And I could see why some people may remarry their ex. That's what I thought. And I even have people in mind that I think will probably get back together sometime in their lifetime. If the stars align, like I can see it.
What it seemed like is people were taking these gaps, right? It's like, oh, after 10 years, after 15 years, after even I saw something in the video was too long for me to use, but it said that people had been uh, separated for 18 years and then came back together. And I want to really break that down. Even to the audience, do you know anybody or have you yourself spin the block on your ex-husband or ex-wife? Let's go ahead and start with this first video I found that I thought was really interesting.
Question. Do you think you can remarry your spouse or significant other after a divorce? Yeah, I was in my live today and I was telling my audience that I had been married twice, but I had been married to the same person twice. Me and my husband, we were married in 2008. After being divorced for 4 years, you guys. I didn't think I could do it in the beginning. When he started pursuing me, I was like, no, I don't think I could do this, with the sorries, I'm going to do better, I didn't think I could do it. But we ended up, we started back talking, and we ended up living together for a while. And things worked out, and so we decided to remarry. But things are much better this time. Believe me, much better. So my question again is, do you think you could reunite with an ex-spouse after a divorce? Or
So I'm talking to two married queens. So I just think that it's so interesting. What were your initial thoughts for the video? What was your initial responses? Dr. Fleece, I'll start with you. What was your initial response to that?
So I think it can happen, especially when people meet when they're younger, like in their early 20s. I believe that a lot of women haven't, like, first of all, your brains aren't fully developed. And then everybody's still growing, evolving, and learning. And so when they get divorced early because they married early, a lot of that could be some unresolved love. Like, you really did love that individual and still have feelings for them. You just didn't have the wherewithal, the wisdom, or whatever it was in order to make it work then. But when you have that time and that space and you have a lot of ridiculous in between relationships, you start to look at your ex differently and say, maybe you weren't so bad. And had I hung in there long enough to really get through those tough patches, we probably still would have been together. And so I think that gap can actually help those people kind of reevaluate their love and find their way back to one another. So I really do believe it's possible. And one of the things that I work with couples is to try and prevent them from having to do that. Because you can tell when people really love each other, they just don't have the tools or the belief that they can make it work. And so sometimes that space allows them that time to grow up, mature, and then reconnect.
Yeah, that's so interesting. It makes me think of I produced a Black Love project. I went to see my aunt in San Antonio, Texas. And when she's already been married for 40 plus years. Now it's 40. She's been married as long as I've been alive. So she's been married for 42 years, right? And so she had all of her homegirls come over, and everybody had been married for over 30 years. And I said, oh my God, I got to do a documentary about this. So I asked Dr. Boyce if he wanted to produce it with me, and I went down and we put together a small crew and we did interviews and followed their lives for a while and just wanted to know about the ups and downs of marriage and what that really looks like. I think the internet doesn't do a good job of teaching us like real life when it comes to love and what you really have to go through with a person to sustain the marriage. And so what I thought was interesting is that them being married over 30 years, they had been through that, like, I don't like you right now. I don't like this right now. I don't want to be in this marriage. I mean, they had went through infidelity. There was some times when they were beating up on each other. I mean, just ghetto. When I really start listening to the stories, it wasn't all like, I love them and I love them forever. And it was like The Notebook. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't that. And so with that being said, Dr. Sabrina, you've been married for almost as long as I've been alive too, right? Like, you've been married for how long?
30 years.
30 years. Okay. 30 years.
30 years.
Do you think that some people are a little delusional when they walk into marriages and they really aren't equipped? Like Dr. Felice said, they don't have the tools to deal with what's the reality of marriage.
Absolutely. Absolutely. In all seriousness, I know people, I know some people who have done that. They were married, got together and separated for whatever their reasonings were. And they decided to remarry. And I am in full agreement with Dr. Felice. I think age has a lot to do with it and maturity. So, you jump into it when you're younger. And here's the thing, and I got to drop this off. I'm going to deposit it while I'm right here and I have the floor. Sometimes as younger people, we spend far too much time planning the wedding and not planning our marriages. Let that resonate. Sometimes we get so caught up in that outward expression that's for other folks' benefit that we really don't think about what you're really doing, what you're committing to doing. And then when the first little thing comes up, it's like, oh, well, it's a reason to run away. Now, as I minister to others, I minister to myself. So in full transparency, I'll go ahead and say this. I got married at age 25. For me, I thought I was old, but really looking back, I was not very old. I was a little younger than I am. But we got married, and I remember dating him. We never had an argument, like never. We lived in two different towns. So when we saw each other, we came together. Everything was always great, right? We were happy with each other. Well, fast forward, we got married, and I remember having our first argument. We were in, I was in graduate school at the time. My husband was in school as well. We had just purchased a new car. So I was thinking to myself, okay, if I stay and he leaves and he takes the car, I'm stuck at school with no transportation. If he leaves the car, I'm stuck at school with a car payment. So I need to find a way to work through whatever little spat we were going through. And so I think sometimes you have to just kind of step back and really look at the source of what is the problem. You know, yeah, there are some serious things. And even as Dr. Felice said, infidelity, maybe that was you, Miss Black Hollywood. Infidelity is a big thing. And for some people, that's just like, okay, that's non-negotiable. But there are some other things that we allow to just, come in and destroy our marriages that are they're not that serious. When you look backwards, when you're looking forward, oh my gosh, but looking backwards, they're not something that you can't work through.
That's a great, because that leads me to my next question for you before we go to commercial, Felice. How do you know? I mean, I just saw Lady DC saying that my husband, I love that girl, committed DV on 10/17/20. We were together 16 years. We are divorced, not going back to an abuser. He was not the one. So in situations obviously not as extreme, but how do you know? What if you don't see those initial red flags? Like, how do you know like if the person is right for you? I feel like you don't know, right? It's a risk. I think that comes along with the risk of being married. But how do you know when the person is good to go back to? Because I would think there would be a risk factor in that, going back and doing it again.
Right. So in the case of that young lady, Lady DC, kudos to you for leaving an abusive situation and making the decision and choice not to go back. Thank you for making yourself come first. So I'm not talking about domestic violence situations. I'm talking about where these people really did love one another. They have shared history, shared experiences. It's just that it might have been the timing. And so what a lot of young people do, or like people do in general, they fantasize about marriage. And they create this fantasy and narrative around it that has nothing to do with the real work that's involved. And as a woman of faith, I consider marriage a ministry. And one of the things that I teach to people is that marriage is also not just about companionship, the romance, the intimacy, all of that. Marriage is bigger than just the two of you. Marriage builds societies. And so when people go in knowing the brevity of the choice that they're getting ready to make, you can possibly make better decisions with whether or not this person is yours. And one of the ways you can know if this person is yours is you got to start asking the hard questions up front. You got to start first. You got to know what your values are. So for me, my values are faith, respect, honesty, right? Loyalty. You got to start asking that person those questions around your values. And then you got to give your relationship enough time to see how that plays out. You got to be able to see that individual and their tea bag in some hot water. How do they respond in different situations? How do they respond about money issues? You got to see them in different worlds so you can collect that data to make an informed decision about, can this person be my one? Because marriage is a choice. It is a decision and it is a choice. And it has really not a lot to do with love. Because people think love is a feeling. Love's not a feeling. It's an act. It's a verb, right? It's always in action and motion about how can I serve you? What is some way I can make your life better and easier, which we don't do it. We go in selfishly. And so you have all those parameters that a lot of people don't think about, but they really could have been for each other. Just the timing is off, or they needed more time, or they needed to ask the right questions ahead of time before they got to marriage. And one of the things that I noticed is that people work harder at their dating relationships than they do marriage, because they look at weddings as a finish line. Like it's this thing to check off. I got it. I did it. It's another phase of life that I did it. But you can't make it like that. And the work that that you're putting into your dating relationship, dating is hard. For whatever reason, there's this delusion and blinder that when you say I do, things are going to necessarily get better, or people are going to change, or they're going to show up different. And that's not how change works. And that's not how it manifests. And so if you know that your dating relationship is hard and things aren't working, that's the time to collect the data and decide, I might need to leave this. Not after you say I do, before you say I do.
I love that. I think we should take a deep breath on that one and just kind of process what you just said, because you said a lot of good things. All right, so let's take a break and we'll be right back.
Woo! It's a good show right here. But I'm biased. If you are just tuning in, you are watching Fly Nubian Money, where we help you master your mindset and maximize your money. My name is Tiara Williams. I'm also known as Miss Black Hollywood, and I'm the proud producer of this show because it is lit. If you want to receive notifications for when we go live Monday through Friday, 1 to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All you have to do is text the word Queens to 87948. That's Queens to 87948. That's QUEENS to 87948. Also, if you want to grow your money and not blow your money, all you have to do is go to flynubianmoney.com. There's all kinds of resources, there's courses, there's free giveaways. There's just no reason to be broke in 2025. All you have to do is go to flynubianmoney.com. Obviously, you don't want to be entertained here. You want to know enough to grow. Wait, I need to put that on a shirt. You got to know to grow. Got to know to grow. So know and grow with flynubianmoney.com.
Welcome back to Fly Nubian Money. Today we are talking about more Black divorcees are remarrying their ex-spouses. People are spinning the blocks on the love of their ex-lives, their ex-spouses. They're spinning the block. So we want to talk about that and really get to the bottom of, like, what is this trend and what is this about? Is this because we are I believe that we are in the middle of a recession. So immediately I thought, like, times are hard. And if you were single, the bed might be cold. On top of the bed being cold, you might be struggling. People may be struggling or having a hard time making ends meet. Dr. Sabrina, what do you think about that? Do you think it's all about, like, a rekindling or a retwinkling in the eye, or do you think there's something else, like, I need to pay these bills? What do you think?
That could very well be it. I mean, every situation is different. Each individual is different. And I think a lot of it has to do with the reason why, the why behind the divorce. So again, for some people, it's just a matter of, our personalities don't mesh. We can't seem to disagree, where no one is willing to compromise. Those things are not as serious. The young lady mentioned abuse. Now, that's something that is really very serious. I've experienced it in my own family, and it did not end well. It actually ended in death.
Yeah,
so that's something that's really, really serious. And I would never even suggest to anybody, male or female, that they endure a situation like that. But, the reasons can vary why a person or people decide to give love a second chance. And, I know there are some people that are very, very, they are very convinced that, hey, I've been there once, I've tried it once, and that's your right to do so. I'm not trying to convince you otherwise, but there are some people out there that just may be open to giving a person a second chance. There are some people that may be willing to extend grace. Maybe that was something that they never did before. Interestingly, you guys, I don't watch a whole lot of TV, but the last couple of nights I hadn't been able to sleep. So I put on this show on Netflix called Doc. Has anybody seen that? DOC? It's about this doctor that was literally a B with a capital B. She was like the chief of internal medicine at the hospital, and she gets in this car accident and loses the last 8 years of her memory. Well, when she wakes up, where she is in time is at a time where she had young children and a very happy marriage. But over the course of that 8-year period, she had gotten divorced from her husband. He's moved on. She's moved on. And what she realizes in just kind of trying to figure out, like, what am I missing? What happened during that 8-year period is that they lost a child. The child died on a field trip. I'm not trying to tell the show, so maybe I should say they lost a child, and she never gave the man any grace. And I think he said to her something like, during no matter what, good or bad, whatever we went through, you were always my friend. At the core of everything, you were always my friend. What she realized is that she had stopped being his friend. And I think sometimes that happens to us in a marriage too. We look at the other person and we think about all the things that they're not doing, they're not giving, who they are not, they have not become. But then we don't really think about our part in that either. Are we there yet? Are we perfect, Patty? We're expecting that out of somebody else, but are we there ourselves? So I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, that's right. I love that. Being finance being the number one reason why people get divorced. Sometimes I don't, we talk on these shows, and I've made it so clear that I am not for the conversations of the internet, right? Like the dating down. I think we got into that yesterday during our conversation. Like, I don't want to date a black man because you got to date down, and all of this. And I think that there's a certain spirit that has come, a divisive spirit when you watch, when you're looking at the internet. It's all in our algorithm. I think that whatever is in your algorithm is your reality. That it programs literally your reality. So if you think there's not enough black men and not enough this, and he ain't got enough money, and he can't have a Benz. I saw some woman say, like, he can't have a man with a Benz is feminine. He's gay. It just doesn't, like, what? So I guess my question is, Dr. Felice, is like, with finance being the number one thing, and finances are important, but I don't think like they replace a person's worth, right? And so sometimes, with that being the number one thing, does that mean that, like, something else got in the way, in terms of like bills got in the way, or you became blind because poverty is not cute. It's not precious to be broke. It is actually very stressful. So when you think about the number one reason why people get divorced, is it valid? Is getting a divorce for finances valid?
No, not at all. Because, and I'm old school and I'm from New York. So I grew up knowing you can always make $1, especially if you don't care how, like, as long as it's legal. Like, seriously, if I gotta fry a French fry, or I got a DoorDash, right? If I've got a bill that's coming up and I can find, like, you can always make money. Yeah. And so as long as y'all come to the table to recognize how we going to figure this out, what are some things we do? So I don't think finances should be the reason why people get divorced. I do believe, though, that some people also leave relationships because I think finances is always looming in the background, but it could be the woman has needs. Like, it may be affection, and she feels a lack of affection, which can also cause feelings of rejection, and no telling what she dealt with or some trauma in her past, that lack of affection triggers something in her that she doesn't have the tolerance or patience for. And so it could be different, and it could be with the man too. It could be different things, and they all add layers that people don't have the skills or the tools for to know how to work through piece by piece. And when you don't have those tools, and you don't do self-work and self-care so that you don't show up rude, you don't show up irritable, you don't show up frustrated. Another reason why couples break up, they don't know how to communicate, right? And so what does that mean? They always in their head. So your wife look good, but you don't say it. Tell your wife she look good. Pump her up. Your husband, he fixed that chest for you that you have been asking for, but it's in your head. Tell him thank you. You assuming things that they should know. You've been with me for 5 years. You should know that. No, I should not. Go ahead and find language and detail and specifics for what it is you need from me. And because people are not having language, they're missing each other. And the misunderstanding is huge. And another big reason why people don't make it. And so you've got these different layers that can play into it, but I don't think any of them are a reason to get divorced. I believe that people get married for the commitment. Your looks are going to fade. Your money may come and go. Anything in your life can change in a dime. Everything can change on a dime. But you married that person because they said, no matter through thick and thin, through better and for worse, I am committed to you. I am committed to make this work. And that's why I believe people get married. And I think that's what gets lost.
That's good. I think we should process that. Let's go ahead and take another break. We're going to process that. And when we come back, I want to know, it's just to piggyback, and this is to start getting you thinking, Dr. Sabrina, with what Dr. Felice just said. I'm thinking, like, how does one do that when they start to feel, because men and women are just different internally, the way we process. Women be like, I feel, and men are like, just more logical beings, right? In a sense of like, okay, they're not ruled by feelings, but a woman be like, I feel neglected. I feel. So how do you get around this language to start speaking the same language? If you can answer that for me, but we'll be right back. Answer that question when we come back. We'll be right back.
I know you're busy, you got things to do, and you can't take us on the go with you every single day. Good news for you. We are now on Spotify. So if you can't watch us, now you can listen to us on Spotify. Search Fly Nubian Money and all the episodes shall appear. All you have to do is like, subscribe, leave a 5-star rating, leave some comments, tell people how you love us so that when other people come along and are looking for a great show to watch, they can find Fly Nubian Money too. One last thing, and just in case you've been sitting under a rock, Fly Nubian Money now has an investment club. We are the Fly Nubian Money Club. It's easy. All you have to do is go to flynubianmoneyclub.com, and I am committed to bringing in top experts from all industries to help you level up. They're teaching us the skills that we need to compete in this market. We often say that nobody is coming to save us, not the government, but guess what? We're coming to save us. I'm coming to save you with the Fly Nubian Money Club. So listen, all you have to do again is go to flynubianmoneyclub.com. We have a 30-day free trial set up just for you, just for those people that are struggling. Even if you ain't struggling, you ain't got to struggle. I'm coming. Okay, let me stop playing. I'll see you soon.
Yes, we will see you soon. As a matter of fact, we'll see you this Saturday for Dr. Sabrina's Dr. Sabrina is coming to the Fly Nubian Money Club, y'all. She is teaching us how to secure and transfer our wealth properly. So you don't want to miss out on that. So let's continue this conversation. So I ask you the question, what are your thoughts on that? Did you have some time to ponder? So what is the language What is the language being a woman that's been married 30 years?
I think one of the things too, back to Dr. Felice's point, is communication. And that means recognizing when we are not communicating, what's not being said, and sometimes even acknowledging that we need help. We need help in the form of a person like a Dr. Felice. We need help in the form of a mentorship. Maybe some older people, if you don't have that example in your own family, maybe someone in the community that has been married, and not feeling embarrassed about the fact that you are maybe young in your marriage and you're at a point where it just is not working. We are not able to communicate. And I think that gets a lot of people as well, not, being comfortable enough to go sit down in front of someone else and give your view. Let your spouse give his view, and let somebody else really listen to what is being said. Because sometimes when we're so caught up in our thoughts and our feelings, we know how we feel, but that may impair our ability to be able to listen to what the other person is trying to communicate to us. And so I don't think we need to underscore that point of just being willing to bring other people in that can help us. And I'm not just saying go out there blasting your personal business to anybody either. I think there are people, professional people, and maybe even, like I say, an older couple that's been married for 40, 50 years, go sit down and ask them, because I'm sure if you talk to them, they will tell you. You'll probably be surprised at some of the things that they have been through, and that they can feed into you to help you make it through that point where you cannot, or where you are not communicating with each other, just talking at each other.
I love that. So make sure you have what I heard was community, and making sure you are not too proud to ask for help. I love that. With that being said, let's go. I want to throw a little bit of a monkey wrench in this situation, because this is, aside from finances, this is the other reason people get divorced. Let's check this out.
After a 6-month separation with my husband comes back and he says to me, I feel like I'm falling in love with you all over again. And it was then when I knew that God did exactly what he said he would. In 2018 and 2019, my husband and I separated. And it was during that time that not only were we physically apart, but there was also infidelity. Yes, infidelity. And yes, I stayed because I am obedient to God and I trust in the power of God. And for a total of a little over a year, we were separate from each other, not really talking, not really around each other. But it was at the end of 2019 where God restored our marriage, and we've been together ever since, y'all. We make 9 years married this year, and we give all the glory to God. I've been able to forgive. I've been able to overcome. I'm no longer triggered. I'm no longer bothered by what happened, and we are loving and serving each other the exact way that God needs us to. And since then, I've been helping married couples and married individuals overcome marital separation and infidelity. Not only do I offer one-on-one coaching calls, but I've also,
Of course, she's coaching, but but I think that her story is interesting, right? Where, when they say sickness through health, like all of the vows, right? That infidelity is one of those things, like, that people get. So I heard it two ways, right? Infidelity, people that are not married, like myself, that's like, I'm not taking nobody that's gonna be cheating on me. But then when you get into a marriage, I hear people that are married that say, like, infidelity isn't the worst thing, right? Is this person on drugs? Are they going upside your head? Are they spending up all the money because they're gambling it away? We can talk about infidelity and say, like, okay, what is this? Like, what am I missing? Is there something that I did not do? Is there something I could do better? Or is there a way that I'm not making you feel wanted, or whatever? Basically work through that. Or do you want to just leave me? Like, what are we talking about? And so I guess my question for you all is, first, just what's your response to the video? I think this young lady exhibits a lot of faith. God is in it. So I'll start with you, Dr. Felice. What are your thoughts, just from your lens as a therapist?
I think it's normal for women to forgive the men when it comes to infidelity. And I think it's less with the men when it's the woman. Mm-hmm. And as a woman of faith, a Christian, that is the one out that God gives you. He lets you divorce due to infidelity because of trust. It is very hard to regain trust when someone has cheated on you. And yes, because it's so hard, and this is what it can look like, where a lot of, and guys, give me grace, I'm just using this because of the numbers, right? Not because it's necessarily accurate. But say the man cheated. A lot of times when the woman decides to say, he said, I'm sorry, I apologize, I'll never do it again, I'll do this and that. And so he wants her to be able to move on. Like, mm-hmm, okay, we got this. Let's move forward. That was a thing in the past. But a lot of times it takes that woman a long time to let that thing go, because she needs proof again, mm-hmm, that, trust is earned. And so there's no timetable to what that can look like. So that can also cause tension in the marriage, because that one partner is saying, well, can we move on? Can you stop punishing me? And that other person is still needing their healing. And that's why with infidelity, because the trust is so necessary in a relationship, because you can literally make your partner miserable with a lack of trust. Yeah. You can track them every time, like you clocking everywhere they go, why they went, how'd you look at that lady? You can make people miserable with your lack of trust. And so I'm okay with people going to their God and figuring out their need to stay. But I also want people to be empowered that if you know that you cannot trust this individual and you're going to be miserable and you're going to make them miserable, it is okay for you to leave. It is okay. They have violated their word to you. They have violated and trespassed. And a lot of times what aggravates me about infidelity, especially with women, is our capacity to forgive. But I think it's because of we don't want to be alone. We know how hard it is out in them streets to get somebody new. And so we put up and shove down a lot of that in order to be able to, and it's always, it feels like it's the woman's responsibility to keep what she didn't break. And so that's where I have a problem, is when people feel they have to keep something that they weren't the cause for it breaking in the first place. So I have this, I have this seesaw relationship with infidelity.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. I think betrayal, I mean, when I'm having conversations with my family, I was raised around a lot of boys and men. There's a lot of men in my family. I have a big family. I would watch them like tiptoe out on really good women and be like, why not just leave her? Like, why not just go and do it? He like, nah. I'm like, man, you don't love you. You don't love her. You love you. And so it's very hard. And what I realize is that for me, it's not about, and I'm not married. I'm just saying but it feels like it wouldn't be about, it would be about the betrayal of it. It would be about the trust for me. Like, dang, is he like, I'm going to the store. Well, I've seen one of my cousins leave the house and go have sex with a girl and then go to the store, right? Like it's like, is she in the out? I'm coming with you. And then when you got to start living your life like that, like you said, and tracking, and there's just a betrayal. It's hard. It would be hard for me to be like, okay, he's not cheating this time. It's not, but I've seen stats that say that after a man cheats once, he is prone to do it again if women forgive. So it's what do you think, Dr. Sabrina? What do you think about this?
As Dr. Felice says, this is a very slippery slope. And I think it really depends on the two individuals and where they are along their line of thinking, their maturation. It really depends. Okay. So for somebody that's young and, this is something that they've never experienced before, I can see how it may be a very crushing thing for them. I'm even looking at some of these comments over here, and it's always amazing to me. It's always the man, as long as it's the man that does it, it's fine. But no, don't let it be the woman. Don't let it be the woman. They have committed the unforgivable sin. Okay, what book and chapter is that in? Somebody put it in the chat for me. I want to know. Okay, but so in all seriousness, I think it depends on the two people. And one of the things that for me is kind of, where I take a step back is when other people intercede in people's marriages, when they just, get in folks' head, and tell them, well, girl, I sure wouldn't do that. I wouldn't take him back. Well, maybe you wouldn't. Maybe you wouldn't, but that's not really your choice to make for someone else. That's not my decision to make for someone else. They know what they're capable of dealing with. And in fact, if we say and if we believe that things are God ordained, I don't know. Maybe God is dealing with that person over there. And it took him stepping out for him to come to the realization of what he really needs to be doing and who he is. Is he godly sorry for what he has done? That's not for me to decide. So I think, we have to really be careful. Every man has to think about himself and what they, who they are inside their own heart when they do these things. And it's, we can say what our opinions are, and it's easy for people to say what they would do, but have you ever really been in that position?
That's right.
You can say what you would do, but have you been there? Once you get in the fire, you might do some things a little bit differently. But, going back to that's the out. Yeah, it's in there that you can divorce because of infidelity, but it does not say that you have to. Yeah. You can, but you don't have to. What we are called to do is love, and what we're called to do is forgive. And if we can't do those two things, then we don't need to think about that other person. We need to put ourselves in check.
Yeah. You know what's so interesting? And I always think about how men just in general being the only single queen on the panel today representing. But I think about how what I've noticed is that, you know, men, it takes a little longer to mature, right? Like just in general, it just from a early age we are taught to we are raised by our mothers in a way that's like they are preparing us, go wash the dishes, go do this, and boys generally get to play. They get to play for a very long time while we're being raised and to be independent women that can take of our care of ourselves and we're responsible and all the things. So by the age of 25 or 20, it's like, yeah, I could get married, and the boys are just like, I want to play, you know. So I think I see that even, you know, as a 40-year-old woman, I see that men still be like, just have a little bit of immaturity. And so I think that would you all say that maybe marriage is something, is there an age? So Dr. Sabrina, I'm asking, would you have gotten married later? You got married earlier, which has been a blessing, obviously. Hallelujah. But if you had it to do again, knowing what you know 30 years later, would you have been with the same person but gotten married a little later?
Yes, I would have. And I'd encourage anybody to get to know who you are. I've evolved, okay, over the 30-year period. I have evolved. I've gone through, you know, ups and downs, and, you know, I've become a mother, and I've, you know, figured out what I want to do professionally. I've had some hits and I've had some misses. So all of those things were shaping me. And some of those things, I looking back, I do wish I had taken a little bit more time to do those things prior to bringing and putting somebody else on that roller coaster with me, so that, you know, by the time we actually got together, it would have been more of a smooth ride, more so than this roller coaster that I feel like we have been on. But with that being said, fortunately, I found somebody that was willing to stay on the roller coaster
Right.
with
I'm
me.
like, is that all bad? I don't think that's all bad, right? That's part of the process. Uh, Dr. Felice, what do you say? And I'm gonna go to commercial in a second, but what do you say about you are married, Queen? How long have you been married again?
8 years.
8 years. Um, do you can you appreciate getting married a little later, or do you wish it's something that you would have done earlier? What are your thoughts on it, or from a therapist lens and also personally?
So I think there's pros and cons to both, right?
Okay.
I think if you want to have a family and you want children, I think that considering getting married younger is necessary.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that for me personally, me getting married later was the best thing I could have done, but I didn't know that in the moment. I didn't know that I wasn't ready for marriage until I got married older. By that time, I had been through some life things. My scope of being able to understand humans had expanded. So, what does that mean? That means that I'm able to offer grace that I probably wouldn't have been able to offer younger.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also the con too, that when you are older, sometimes you're more settled in your ways. And so it's hard for you to be flexible. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
when you're younger, you don't know that much. So flexibility just comes with everything. So you're able to flow a little bit better when you're younger. So there's
Yeah.
pros and cons. But what I do believe that, especially women, not even men, I think women really do need to figure out who they are, because we do so much growing, especially in our 20s. And a lot of things that we as women would have settled for in our 20s, we definitely wouldn't settle for in our 30s and 40s. So I think that women, I think a good age for women is around 30 to possibly get married, because they should know themselves a little bit more, have more steadfast values that they're not fluctuating with, so that they can identify their Boaz a little bit better. I think younger, I think she'll have more regrets. And I think that those regrets will kind of seep into the marriage and add a layer of things they got to work through.
Mm, I love that. Okay, y'all, it's time to process that a little bit. I want to know from the chat, what do you all think? Did you get married early? Did you get married? Were you a late bloomer? Because I will consider myself, once I get married, because I will get married, amen, a late bloomer, right? I just feel like I had been through so much in life. I was like, if I'd have got married in my 20s, I feel like that person would have probably ruined my life because I didn't have boundaries. There were so many things that I just didn't know about myself and about life. And so waiting and just after a while saying like, okay, well, what you like? Well, and then being selfish and saying like, I want to pursue some of the things I want to pursue. Anyway, so that has been my experience. But what about you in the chat? I want to hear what your experience has been, and we're gonna take a break, and we'll be right back.
Are you a Black business owner looking to expand your reach? Well, has Fly Nubian Money got good news for you? We are building a Black business directory to connect you with customers who need your services. And here is the best part. It is absolutely free. Email us at info@realvirtual.net. Send us your business name. Tell us a little bit about what you do, what services you offer, your website address, and your contact information. That's it. Together, we are going to build and circulate the Black dollar. Get listed today and start connecting with people who are probably already looking for you.
I don't care. That's why it's over. I can take care of myself. So that's what this made me think of, right? Like it made me think of how women and men maybe, this is I joke, but when I'm thinking of why people get remarried, maybe it's like you get outside and real life really hits you. You be like, do I really want to do this by myself? The mortgage, the groceries, my condo, all of the things. And before you know it, you need to call Tyrone again.
And you know what, too? A lot of times we think, Tiara, that there's some greener grass, and there possibly is. But even with that greener grass, you still got to mow that lawn. Like you got to aerate it, you got to water it, you got to seed it, you got to reseed. You know what I mean? Like you still got to water another grass. So sometimes it's just better to work what you know, than try to make it work somewhere else when the rigor is always going to be there. You're always going to have to put in the work, and there's really no greener grass.
Yeah,
it just isn't.
It's going to be work regardless.
It's going to be work.
I mean, do you believe that at this point you just have to figure out? I saw something the other day that said that you have to just pick somebody that you can enjoy life with, like enjoy those hard moments with, but that you can also suffer well with, because life is going to come with those. Life is going life, right? So, what do you think of that? Like just finding someone that can go through, like Dr. Sabrina. That's a good man, Savannah. She said that he's willing to go through the ups and downs and the roller coasters with you. Dr. Felice, do you think how do you even know if the person that you're with is willing to do that with you? Is it just a matter of communication? Like, well, how do you know?
And it's a matter of time, right? Because when you give the relationship time, life is going to happen in that time frame. And you can see how they handle life when it happens to either of you while y'all are single. How are they handling it when you're going through something that's tough? Do they come to your support or do they run?
Mm-hmm.
Are they there and wanting to assist and help you figure things out, or they're like, you got this? So just trust, because couples come to me and they're like, oh, Miss Felice, I met somebody. I'm like, how long it's been? 3 months. I'm like, girl, come back to me in a year. And then we can talk. It's always good in the beginning. You got to let life kind of happen naturally so that you can see that person and see what they're like and how they'll be for you. So I don't know about Dr. Sabrina, but she may have been able to see that he was willing to stick with her through the ups and downs. She already had proof that he was able to do that and would step in. And do they honor their word? right? So that's another clue. So if they say they're going to do something and they do it, is probably and they have a good track record with it, it's probably a good indicator that if they say they committed and they're going to be with you through the ups and downs, now it's not 100, but I'm just saying that's a good indicator that he says his word and he does it. And so that might be a good sign too for you.
Yeah. Dr. Serena, do you have anything to respond to that? What do you think?
Well, and then sometimes I weigh out, the options. You look at the good on one hand and you look at the bad, because everybody, there is no perfect person out there. None of us are. There are no quote unquote perfect marriages. I mean, we're imperfectly perfect for each other. And so there are just things that, I can give you a whole laundry list of things that my husband does that drives me absolutely up the wall. Well, his is probably twice. It's probably twice as long. But at the end of the day, like you say, what are those big things? What the big things that really does matter? Are we working together to build something? Are we able to do that in spite of any differences or disagreements that we may have? Are we able to come together around those type things? Are we able to, just at the end of the day, sometimes, my husband has this, he thinks he's a comedian. God knows he thinks he is a comedian. And sometimes I have to just say, okay, well, maybe I do need to just laugh at one of these corny jokes, just being willing and able to negotiate, I think, to give and take. And I can't say this enough. I think understanding that we are imperfect people and not trying to find that perfection or expect that perfection in someone else. A lot of times we do that, and that does not work. Now, I know, everybody, the people in the chat that may have had marriage experiences that did not go so well, we don't know their story, and Dr. Felice has probably heard a lot of stories. We don't know everybody's story, but for some people, it's just that we don't give it enough time and we don't give each other enough grace.
Okay, well, I want to go to some of these comments because I think they are piling up over here. So Anonymous says that age 20 for women, age 35 for men. That's your personal experience. All right. Deborah Wynn says she got married. I got married later and still ended up divorced. Well, that's all right, sis. Keep hope alive if you even want to get married. I don't know. Crystal says she got married at 32. Jared says a marriage without boundaries, with boundaries sounds whack AF. I don't know. I don't know what that means. You have to. I don't know if we talking about like boundaries, like no, you can't touch me after 9 o'clock, or we're talking about like emotional boundaries and allowing people to just like do whatever they want without saying no. I'm not gonna overextend myself. I'm like, because in situations, I know women tend to be givers, and we will give until we absolutely have nothing left to give. And men do it too. I'm not saying that they don't, especially if they're trying to prove something. Sometimes you have to have boundaries for people, I believe. So I think you were responding to my comment on that. He said it might as well stay dating. All right. Deborah said, I said one and done. I'm like the lotto, but hey, you never know. All right. Dr. Felice, I didn't want to see. I assumed because he was older that he would know, but he didn't he didn't and wanted a divorce. All right. All right. Well, it looks like I said, it's cooking in the chat. I want to go to some of these some stats that I pulled for this topic. Here we go. All right. According to the Pew Research, about 10 to 15% of divorced couples remarry each other. All right. A study suggests couples with children are more likely to reconcile due to shared responsibilities. Financial and emotional convenience often plays a role in the decision to reunite. Remarriages to the same spouse have a slightly higher risk of divorce than the first time marriages, but can succeed with better communication and maturity, which is something that both of our queens have said, both of our good doctors have said on our good doctors and married women have said. I pulled a last video and then we'll go into to final thoughts. But as I was scrolling through Instagram and just looking for researching on this topic, so funny, I ran into something that was unexpected. I ran into my little cousin who was proposed to, and I forgot all about this. Her and her boyfriend got together in high school and they had 3 children together, all before the age of 20, right? The two of them. And then they broke up. And then, like, I want to say 12 years later, when she was maybe 30 and he was in his 30s, I'm talking about they was in high school. He went through the whole decade of the 20s, like just beefing and all of this. And then one day we came to this. And I don't know, just one day he was like, I want to be a man.
No problem, you know what I mean? I always really wanted to be here, even though we went through our phase, we went through our fork in the road, we back here together. We started this family, and I want to continue on with this. Yes, I'm not planning on going anywhere. You know what I mean? So, with that being said, okay.
So that was my cousin Jonisha. And it's so funny, like I said, I saw it on TikTok and I heard my cousin's loud voice screaming, her mama screaming, and I was like, oh, that's right. That's right. Look at my family online putting their business out. But I just thought it was beautiful. And now they're married. They've been married for under a year now, but they've literally been together on and off since high school. And so I just think that you're absolutely right. Like, it just took some time for him to mature and even for her to mature. I remember, her being single with 3 children. I mean, people judged and they had their things to say. And he ran out and was immature and in his 20s, a 20-year-old boy, right? And so I'd let that kind of like it just represent that anything is possible. Like, that was my final conclusion on this. Like, if you love somebody enough, like he said in the beginning, like, I always wanted to be here. And I think that has to be a thing too. They have to want it. There has to be a desire. So I want to thank you all for. It's so funny. He said, "You damn right, I'm judging." The comments are hilarious, y'all. I want to thank you all for watching Fly Nubian Money, but I want to start to wind this conversation down and go to our final thoughts if we can keep them brief and, with a nice little bow on it, but definitely impactful. So I'll start with you, Dr. Sabrina. And actually, I'll start with Dr. Felice because do you have a heart out today? You have another meeting? Okay. All right. Well, I'll start with Dr. Sabrina then. I'll keep the therapist for last. But what are your final thoughts about this topic, and where can we find you?
Okay. So life is different for each and every one of us. We never know what space we will find ourselves in. A lot of us are still trying to just find ourselves. And with that being the case, we may end up in a relationship early in life that doesn't work out too well for us. And we may decide to revisit it when we get older. And that's okay if that's what you decide to do. I think the main thing is just being willing to work together with whomever you choose to be with, being willing to put in the work, not get defeated so easily, and just know that if you stay around, if you work together, all things are possible. They are possible, but you got to work together, you guys. That's something we are not doing well as a community, and certainly not in a lot of our families. So that's going to be my final thought for the day. Find your person and work on it. Work with them. whether it's the first time around or the second time around.
Hey.
Okay, I am not a singer. Obviously, I'm not Lala. I am Dr. Sabrina Edmond Williams, though. I am an educator, author, and investor, opening minds and closing contracts. I am so noted. And I am so excited and so delighted that I will be the host of the Fly Nubian Money Club Saturday meeting. I am excited to meet you guys and share with you some of the things that I have learned, things that I am encouraging us to think about. October is National Estate Planning Awareness Month, and we got to start elevating our conversation around how to properly transfer our wealth. We talk a lot about getting the bag, but we got to keep it and we have to pass it on properly. So I am inviting you to be my guest on this Saturday, October the 4th. I'll be there. Will you?
I'll be there. I'll be there. So make sure you go to flynubianmoneyclub.com and sign up for our free trial. If you are not a member, go ahead and sign up for our free trial. And you can get access to all our classes, including Dr. Sabrina's training, which will be on Saturday. All right. Dr. Felice, what do you say and where can people find you? No, we can't hear you.
So remarriages between exes can happen when time, growth, perspective allow people to see their relationships differently and can rebuild. And like Dr. Sabrina said, all things are possible. And isn't love worth the work? I mean, we live in a world where there's so much hate and divisiveness. We should at least be able to come together and decide to love. And so I am Felice Hightower Britt, your b.big.coach on Instagram. And also I have my website, www.thebebigcoach.com. Please reach out if you know anybody that needs help in this area.
And make sure you reach out. Oh, it doesn't want to minimize. Okay, there we go. And make sure that you reach out. Make sure you reach out to Dr. Sabrina, and for different reasons, right? Want to help you, get to transfer your wealth properly and exactly have the mindset to do it. So you want to make sure that you reach out to both. And here are my final thoughts, and I'm not gonna enlarge my screen. I'm just gonna say this, that our journeys are always so different, and we never know what is going to happen. We don't know how life is going to unfold for us. So I would just say, I love what Dr. Felice just said about like love being worth fighting for, and being open to whatever your journey is, and not being so rigid about the process, right? Because it is just that, a process. So for those people that have been married and is thinking about spinning the block, there's no judgment on it. Do what feels good to you. Do what feels right for you. I know I've been inspired both ways. I believe in love. I think it's such a beautiful thing. And sometimes, like we've said, people can just have a misunderstanding and it throw their journey off, and they can find each other again, and it could be a really beautiful thing. So I encourage that. If you are looking for me, I am on the internet as Miss Black Hollywood. I'm also at Karma J Music. That's KHARMA. I'm also at karmaj.com. If you have not heard the album yet, I just want to say this, shameless plug, but Dr. Boyce and I are soon going to have a listening party. I don't know the date yet, but I'm going to tell y'all soon. And also, we're going to have a world premiere of my first single, I Don't Want That, because the video is done. So I'm excited to put that world premiere out. It's gonna be a world premiere like old times, like in the 90s when we used to sit around and wait for Missy videos. That's what it's gonna feel like. So I cannot wait to show that to you. Listen, I got an outro for y'all. Really, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? It is here. Reconciliation after divorce is complex and often combines love, history, and practical considerations. Understanding the motivations behind remarrying an ex can help us reflect on relationships, communication, and financial dynamics in modern love. Listen, if you are interested in knowing when we go live every day, Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All you have to do is text Queens to 87948 to receive notifications for when we go live. Y'all, we have enjoyed this conversation so much. Thank you so much to Dr. Felice and Dr. Sabrina for joining me. The chat, you know, I always love y'all. Thank you for watching us. Thank you for supporting us. And we will see you tomorrow.